Florian Wirtz, we've got him. He's ours. It isn't fully official yet because he's still got a medical to do and the club won't announce it until all that's done. But it's all over the internet. It's all over the big news sites that it is a done deal. So let's take it that he is now a Liverpool player. And I want to discuss why it matters and what it tells us about Liverpool Football Club in 2025. The first thing to mention is obviously this is a statement signing. This is huge. It's a British transfer record, something that we rarely ever do. But go back just a few seasons and you remember the likes of Bellingham and Mbappe were being linked with us. And rightly, at the time, Liverpool fans everywhere were just going, we're laughing it off. It's like, no, we don't do that. We don't sign the superstars. We bring in potential and we nurture that potential and we make them into superstars, which is true. But we never went and shopped at the very, very top table. And this time we have. This time we have brought in the world's best attacking midfielder, ahead of Manchester City, ahead of Bayern Munich. A German lad. He's a kid. He's 22 years and 1 month old. And he called up Bayern Munich and said to Vincent Kompany, no, I'm not coming to Bayern. My heart is set on going somewhere else. And that somewhere else is Anfield. And he turned down the drawing power of Bayern for German players and the financial might of Manchester City to sign for us. Now, a couple of people in the comments of the last video I did likened this signing to Kenny Dalglish and John Barnes, and I absolutely see where they're coming from. But I think this one's a little bit different. This one's even more seismic than they were, because as brilliant as they turned out as two of the greatest players to ever wear the red shirt, Kenny Dalglish came from Celtic, where he was well thought of as a very, very good player, but we didn't know we were buying the player that Kenny turned out to be. Liverpool Football Club and its brilliant management at the time turned Kenny Dalglish from an excellent player in Scotland to a global world-class talent at Liverpool. The same with John Barnes. John Barnes was at Watford and Man United turned him down. They were offered him. And Ferguson said, no, I'm not sure he's any better than Jesper Olsen. If you don't remember him, look him up. But they turned him down. They didn't want him because they thought they had better. But Liverpool brought him in, and Liverpool turned him into the brilliant global world-class player that John Barnes became. He wasn't a superstar brought in, he became a superstar. With Florian Wirtz, we've just bought a player who's already a superstar. He is the best attacking midfielder on the planet. His numbers prove it. His accolades prove it. The awards that he's won, the things that he's done, and I'll talk about them in a minute. But one thing to mention just now is he's been the player of the year in the Bundesliga for the last 2 seasons, in which Bayer Leverkusen went completely undefeated in league and cup in one of those seasons. He was an integral part of that. And no German team has ever done it in history, including Bayern, who win the league virtually every season. They've never achieved that, even now. Let's move on to Liverpool's ownership. FSG, who have divided opinion over their time at Liverpool and have made some mistakes that we all know about. But for me, this signing in particular, along with some others I'm going to talk about in a second, This consolidates and confirms them and the entire Liverpool setup that we see today. From the owners to the backroom staff appointments, to the playing staff, and to the brilliant, astute signings of Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes. Remember, Michael Edwards was allowed to leave in 2022 and he went elsewhere. But guess what? FSG must have looked at it and said, what are we doing? Why are we letting him go? And he brought him back in 2024. They added Richard Hughes to that in 2024 as sporting director. And both, as my mate Tony Morton pointed out the other day, hi Tony, they're the best in the business. Because they are the best in the business. Nobody can compete with them. Definitely in England and potentially in Europe and world football, can anyone compete with the Liverpool committee, sporting director, chief sporting executives, etc., whatever they're called, with the level of success that these have had? When you look at their business in the transfer market, it's almost flawless. Nobody gets every transfer right, but they've come very close to getting every transfer right. They do things differently. Liverpool do things differently compared with any other club. They do statistical, in-depth analysis of players. They study them for years, if need be, to make sure that they're bringing in the exact right player for Liverpool, a player that we need. Not someone who happened to score a bunch of goals last season, so let's snap him up. They don't work that way. If a player is not technical enough for the manager, they don't get signed. And we already know that Arne Slot wants absolute technicians at the club. Players, though, are elite in terms of their technical ability. If they're not ambitious enough, they don't get signed. So they study their character. They want to know, are they winners? Are they determined? Are they willing to run through brick walls, even though they're superstars being paid tons of money? We've all seen the attitude of too many players that's just not right, and they never get to the levels they potentially could have because of it. If they're not disciplined enough, and I'm talking about discipline not just on the field, but off the field as well. They have to live a disciplined life. They have to live and breathe what their job is. So look after themselves. Don't get themselves in any off-field shenanigans. All of that stuff matters. And overall, it's not only are they the right fit as a footballer on the field, but are they a right fit as a character, as a human being? That all matters to Liverpool. And this transfer committee, if you want to call it that, are just impeccable and brilliant at what they do, and we are all reaping the rewards of it. But back to FSG. They brought in Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes. They brought in Jurgen Klopp. They brought in Arne Slot. They brought in people who have a burning desire to succeed. They brought in players and staff that I'm going to use one word that sums them all up: ambition. Ambition. And I think that ambition is something that FSG didn't particularly start with, but have learned their lessons along the way. Because in the early days of FSG, they were bringing in potential. But potential often comes cheaper than proven. And so they were bringing in potential. And what you get with potential? You get, I would say, more players fail than succeed with potential. For a variety of reasons. They plateau, they don't grow as a player, they can't adapt to the Liverpool style, whatever it is. A lot of our potential, and we've all seen it with loads of our players, they've come in and you've thought, wow, look at them, they're going to be brilliant. And 2 or 3 seasons later, they're playing for other teams lower down the division. That's what you get with potential. And they've stopped doing that now. They're not they're not buying potential. They're using all those analytics I just talked about to bring in elite players with elite characters. And this has all been a learning process for FSG, who, let's be honest, are American businessmen, and they're in the business of making money. And what they've figured out, I think, is that the best way to make money is not to buy potential or buy mid-range players and hope that they will become elite players. They've realised that winning on the pitch is the greatest model for successful business. It's the greatest way to take a club and make it even more profitable than it was before. Because when you win, when you are Premier League champions or Champions League winners, you get more sponsors, you get more of the TV money. Everyone wants to be part of what you are because you're winning. And importantly, a big one, huge one, is you get more fans. The reason we've got loads of 50 and 60-year-old fans all over the world is because in the 70s and the 80s, up to the early 90s, we were the best team potentially in the world, certainly in Europe. And we got all these fans. And now, what you're seeing now is that Liverpool are back at the top and our global fan base continues to grow. And they've realised, wow, you know what? The more successful we are, the more money we're bringing in. It sounds simple, but not every club is doing that. Look just down the road. They're cutting out the dinner ladies and kicking out Ferguson from his salary to try and save money. You become successful as a club. You become a global powerhouse by winning. And FSG have got that now. They understand that now. I don't think they understood it when he walked in the door, but I think they do now. And that ambition is spread from the fans have always had it. The players to an extent have always had it, but it's extended now to the entire management team. That's why they brought in Jurgen Klopp. That's why they brought in Arne Slot. That's why they brought in Michael Edwards and Richard Hughes. And that's now why they're bringing in the likes of Florian Wirtz. I mean, does it get any more ambitious than Jurgen Klopp? Does it get any more ambitious, burning ambition, than Arne Slot? Who, let's face it, hardly any of us even knew about. But he was brought in because of what they saw in him. Does it get any more ambitious than Mo Salah? That burning desire he has every week to break new records. The burning desire of Virgil van Dijk. It's spread throughout the entire club. And it now includes everybody, all the way from John Henry to every Liverpool fan around the world and everything in between. And it's that ambition that has seen the Premier League champions not rest on their laurels, not get comfortable, not sit there patting themselves on the back for winning the Premier League title, but they've ruthlessly attacked the transfer market to bring in the world's best attacking midfielder, as well as an absolute top class, potentially world class right back and left back, and potentially more to come. So what they're doing right now is they're making the best team in England even better. And that doesn't half bode well for these next few seasons and potentially beyond. So let's just recap why FSG broke the bank to sign Florian Wirtz. Just go through some of the stuff that this kid has achieved already. He's 22 years and 1 month old, as I said. So we've got a decade of brilliance ahead with him. And as has been pointed out, you pay 100 million for a player and you're getting 10 years out of him. That's not a bad deal at all. Some people are paying 70, 80 million for 28-year-olds, where, 3 or 4 years, they're on the decline. His peak years are ahead of him. He's not even at his best yet. No 22-year-old player is the finished article, and he's already brilliant. So how good is he going to be when he's 25, 26, 27? The sky is the limit for the kid. Just a reminder, Bundesliga Player of the Year for 2 years in a row. In those 2 years, Leverkusen played 68 league games and lost 3. Wirtz, he had 45 goal involvements in those 68 games. And as I mentioned before, one of those seasons was completely undefeated in both league and cup. A feat that has never been achieved by anybody else in Germany ever. When he scored his first goal at 17 years and 34 days, he was the youngest Bundesliga scorer ever. In April 2024, and Leverkusen, if they won, they were confirmed champions for the first time in their history. They went to Werder Bremen away and he won 5-0. And Florian Wirtz scored a hat-trick in the game that sealed the title in Germany for their first one in history. Imagine the pressure of like, oh my God, if we win this game, we make history. It's the first time this club ever wins a title, and he scores a hat-trick. In his first ever Champions League game, which coincidentally was away at Feyenoord, Arne Slot's ex-team at the time, his first ever game in the Champions League, went away to Feyenoord, Leverkusen won 4-0, Wirtz scored 2 and was man of the match in his first Champions League game. In the first 5 Champions League games he played, he scored 5 goals. No German player in history, think back through the history of Germany and the players they've had, no German player ever has scored 5 goals in his first Champions League game until Florian Wirtz. And finally, only 2 players in all of Europe's top 5 leagues have scored and assisted double figures in the last 2 seasons. One is Mo Salah and the second is Florian Wirtz. And we now have both of them. And I just cannot wait to see what happens, the fireworks that are about to happen on the field when Mo Salah, Florian Wirtz and the rest of them, the rest of this elite Liverpool team, go out there and start to attack the opposition. We have got some amazing times ahead, and this may well be the most important Liverpool signing in recent modern history. Not just because it's one player, not just because we paid this much, but just how seismic it is in terms of what it says about this, the ambition of this club and what they want to achieve for themselves, more importantly for us, the fans. Roll on next season. You'll never walk alone. Ta-ra.